Welcome to another episode. If you're confused about the title, it's about the interview segment yesterday by Stephen A. Smith on ESPN. Uh, for copyright reasons, I can't show it to you, but I'll tell you very quickly, word by word. This is all due because Phil Jackson the other day tweeted. I guess it was considered a slight diss to Carmelo. He said, you can't change who he is," and they took it to say that they took it to mean that he's not a winner, so he'll never change. He is who he is, uh, pretty much so. So yeah, so let's go real fast. Stephen A. Smith, he says that it's not Carmelo Anthony's fault that Phil Jackson signed Noah. Yakim Noah. It's not It's not Carmelo Anthony's fault that Phil Jackson signed Courtney Lee. Okay. Instead, this lunatic claims that Phil Jackson could have and should have signed Dwayne Wade, who's with the Bulls. And mind you, Dwayne Wade is 35 years old. He has bad knees, and he was recently criticized by the Chicago Bulls for skipping practice every day. He hasn't practiced all year. A week ago there was a big blow up with the Bulls. Rajon Rondo, he criticized Dwayne Wade, and it was because the all the players on Chicago were upset that Dwayne Wade never practices. And Dwayne Wade's defense was that he's 35 and he can't afford to practice and put his body to the strain. So yeah, that would have worked out well in New York. And then he goes on to blame Phil Jackson for hiring Derek Fisher. Yes, but he forgot to mention that Phil Jackson was this close to having Steve Kerr, the head coach of the Warriors, sign on the dotted line until Steve Kerr left and bolted at the last second for the Golden State Warriors. Worked out pretty good for Steve Kerr. I wonder why he left. I wonder why he turned down the Knicks deal and signed with the Warriors. I wonder why. And then he goes on to bring up ex-coach Mike Woodson, and he insinuates that Phil Jackson was the one who pushed him out the door. He starts praising Woodson that Woodson won 52 games. They won the Atlantic Division. Yeah, he forgot to mention that Knicks team had Jason Kidd, Chauncey Billups, Tyson Chandler, Amara Stoudemire, and J.R. Smith was the sixth man. And with all that, they were still eliminated in the second round. He also forgets to mention, maybe he has amnesia, that throughout his career, Carmelo Anthony has a reputation of being a coach killer. Do you remember Mike D'Antoni? He's also having success now with the Houston Rockets. Go look at them. Not that I want Mike D'Antoni. But next, he says that Phil Jackson is trying to find a scapegoat, and he's doing this through Carmelo Anthony. I guess it's Phil Jackson, it's his fault, and he's scapegoating the fact that Carmelo Anthony doesn't play any defense every night. He dogs it on defense, and if you don't believe me, go watch a Knick game, and within 2 minutes you'll see what I'm talking about. He pretends to play defense, and so do the rest of the Knicks because monkey see, monkey do. You know that's the way it is. Why the Knicks? The other players, Carmelo Anthony is the big superstar, and they're gonna follow his lead. And then he this is most ridiculous. He says that Jackson is trying to pass the buck of accountability. Who's accountable? Carmelo Anthony is the franchise player. It's on his shoulders. It, every team in any sport, the franchise player puts the franchise on his back. That's why it's called franchise player. They are held accountable. And then he says, and he looks straight at the camera. He says, and from what I'm told, Carmelo Anthony is furious. And then he looks into the camera and he tells the audience, I cannot emphasize this enough. Carmelo Anthony does not like this man. What a mean man Phil Jackson is. If you recall, Carmelo Anthony was an unrestricted free agent. It was his choice. He could have left. He could have signed with any team in the NBA. It was his choice and his decision to re-sign with the Knicks. Oh, and what a mean guy Phil Jackson is. He was so mean he signed Carmelo Anthony to a max contract, He was so mean that he included a no trade clause in that contract. He was so mean that he pledged to build the franchise around Carmelo Anthony. He was so mean that he pledged to promise to have Carmelo Anthony's input in every decision and every free agent signing. Oh, what a mean man! And then on the other show, Byron Scott, a failed head coach, said that Phil Jackson punched Carmelo Anthony in the stomach. He hit him where it hurts by insinuating that he's not a winner. Is he lying? What's your definition of a winner? Making it to the second round once in your career and losing? And then ex NBA player Tracy McGrady chimed in and said Phil Jackson's treating Carmelo Anthony so horrible. He went on to say that Phil Jackson, he sucks as an executive player. Oh, you told him, but then he reluctantly praised him as a coach. Did these snowflakes forget that Phil Jackson won 11 NBA championships? Did they forget that he helped Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Shaquille O'Neal become dominant champions? And you can say, "Oh, well, look who they are. Those are the great players." They never won. They didn't win a championship before he got there. Oh, believe me, they were trying. It was only until Phil Jackson got to those teams, started coaching those teams, that those teams became championship yearly dynasties. It's just the way of the world today. If you see it, the world is upside down. Uh, the, these idiots take the side of a player who's never gotten past the second round. He's forced multiple coaches throughout his career to be fired. He always finds someone to blame. It's always someone else's fault. It's never his fault. Uh, it's not his fault that he doesn't play defense. He pretends to play defense, and numbers don't lie. If you think I'm lying, look it up. He's ranked number 145. I'll say it again. Out of all the NBA players, he's ranked number 145 in the NBA in defensive plus minus. That's the statistic that tells you how good of a defensive player you are. And this is a superstar player, right? The franchise player. He's so great. He gets paid the max money. He's a franchise player, ranked 145, 145 in defensive plus minus. That means there's scrubs who are higher than him. But it's no wonder that ESPN is a failing network and has no ratings and is losing money every month. In fact, Phil Jackson is really a genius. He's trying to make Carmelo Anthony he's trying to make his life so miserable that that Carmelo Anthony will force a trade, so that way the Knicks could be rid of him, and they could finally start to build a winner and a team that plays hard every night and defense every night, and maybe just maybe they'll attract some superstars. Did he forget to mention that, Stephen A? Carmelo Anthony has not been able to successfully recruit a free agent superstar. Zero. Nobody's wanted to come here. Nobody. And it's not Phil Jackson's fault. Tell me what you think. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.